Hello, and Court Vision is back in session. So we're back at it again, folks. This time for our 2025-2026 season predictions, we're dealing with the best division in basketball, Mongo's number one rated division in all eternity, the Southeast.
Listen, I love this division. The Panthers are great. The Falcons look stronger this year with Michael Penix getting a full year. I am so ready for this.
But the Saints are a little bit lacking at quarterback.
They're still going to
Derek Carr did retire early in the offseason, and unfortunately, all they have is Spencer Rattler. I can't say the guy's name correctly. Doesn't matter. He's
still going to
be
get more wins.
Quarterback.
Still going to get more wins than the Wizards. Let's do this episode.
I'm sitting there like, what podcast am I
on? All right. So we're going to kick things off with the Wizards. Then we're going to go to the Magic, Hornets, Heat, and end with Kevin's favorite team, the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
as we all know, Kevin is the biggest Hawks fan ever, and he loves just chanting Hawks, Hawks, Hawks. And sometimes he'll even say my Hawks.
I think you're trying to get me to say something that will either get us sued or me canceled. But I'm gonna let you just keep rolling, buddy.
Anyway, on to the Wizards. Last season, the Washington Wizards won a staggering 18 games out of a possible 82. They were not expected to be good, and they delivered.
It's a fair way.
What else could you ask for?
18 times they delivered.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this team minus 12 point differential on the year. They averaged surprisingly more points per game than two other teams in their division.
Good for them.
Yes. Can you guess which two teams?
Oh man, this it's definitely not Orlando. It definitely. I'm going to say it's the Bobcats and the Hawks.
I'm assuming you mean the Charlotte Hornets.
Nope, it's the Bobcats and the
Bobcats. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You said the team, but you said they didn't, and it was actually the Magic.
Really?
And the Hornets.
Wow.
The Magic averaged 105.4 points per game, and the Hornets 105.1, and Washington averaged exactly 108.
Wow. All right, that Desmond Bane trade's starting to make more sense. We'll say that, but well, really, more importantly, good on the Hawks. I mean, for a team that literally couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, they managed to get out of their own way 54 baskets a game. So good on them.
Yeah. So let's I'm gonna rip this bandit off. I got them going 20 wins. I don't think that they're significantly better. I don't think that they're worse. I think that if anything, they're going to be better but they're still a young team, this Wizards team. I also don't think that they're trying to win, right? Like, I think that they're still trying to get the best player available in the upcoming draft. They're to me, they're a few years away, maybe 2 years. This division is that I think the top two teams are definitely going to be back and forth of who's going to win. I think the third team, I don't give them a lot of wins, the third team, but I think that the third team could make a lot of noise because they're a team that traditionally does try to trade. And then there's the Hawks. I'm sorry, the Hornets. So, all right. So yeah, I'm not high on the Wizards being like a 30-win team, but I think anywhere between 20 and 30 is definitely something that they can do. I don't think they're going to get less than 20. I don't have any team this year below 20 just because I like to think teams are better than that. That like the basketball floor is better than that in the NBA, but that's just a little bit of hopefulness from me. How about you, Mongo? What do you have the Washington Wizards finishing?
Yeah, we were joking at the beginning of the episode, but I actually find it I find this whole division super fascinating, and I'll try and keep the show to a limited time tonight, but we could break this down further because I think 4 of the 5 teams in this division they're currently at a grade incomplete. I think there are a lot of either year by year or within this season moves still to come, and Washington is one of the incomplete teams. And I think the question I'm going to throw and catch my own challenge flag on here is when you said they're not trying to win, and I'm with you in the sense that they shouldn't be trying to win. But with that Jordan Poole trade going out and getting CJ McCollum on this roster, going out and adding Marvin Bagley, Middleton opting back in, you have some veterans on this team, and so the question becomes if you're letting Trey Johnson take those big shots in the fourth quarter. If you're letting Keyshawn George play 32, 34 minutes a night, I would rather, if I'm a Wizards fan, I would rather go 10-72 and have the rookies go through growing pains. But with how bad some of the floor teams are in basketball this year, if you put McCollum and Middleton out there on any given night in a 3, 4, 5-point game, they might accidentally win a couple. So, we always talk about these pre-show, these preseason episodes being about wins and losses, not about power rankings. But I had to go by power ranking here. Like, what would what I believe the Wizards should do translate to? Because I could easily see them accidentally ripping off 26, 27, 28 wins that they really don't want. That wouldn't help them. I'm hoping we see a lot of Bub Carrington, a lot of Trey Johnson. AJ Johnson looks all of a sudden lost on this team. He was looking great at the end of the season. Now with who they brought in Cam Whitmore. Like I said, they brought in McCollum. AJ Johnson's like the 12th man on this team. Free him. Either let him go. They brought in Malachi Branham, right? Your boy Tommy. So a whole lot of depth. They got to figure out what they're doing. I hope they just let the rookies play, let the vets be player coaches, basically. And if they do this correctly, Corey, I'm with you completely. I have them at 19 wins, but we're right there with each other, assuming they do this right. They have so much young talent on this team. Just let it develop, let it grow. If I see Corey Kispert taking a big fourth quarter shot at any point this season over Trey or AJ Johnson or even Bub Carrington, I'm going to throw up. Just let the team naturally do its thing and let it stink.
I don't know. I think Corey Kispert is going to be doing that for the Lakers when he gets traded there.
That's fine. Trade them all. I could check the roster again. I think the number is something like 4 or 5 guys not born in this millennium, which for a team that's totally rebuilding is a lot of 90s babies. 91, I think McCollum is like 91-ish. Kispert's like 99-ish. I mean, that's a big difference. Don't get me wrong, but they're all still 90s babies, and they're all not guys. I mean, some of these teams, when they rebuild, they go straight Logan's Run, right? Like, all right, we're going to say 23 is the cutoff. We're only taking the guys who can't drink. There's a lot of veteranship on this team, and I hope it doesn't get in the way of the plan. But the young core here is fantastic. It's just going to stink for a few years.
Now, before we go to you, Tommy, real quick, Mongo, if you were the GM of the Wizards, of the vets you have, who would be one you would keep? Who's the one you want to keep, and who's the one you want to trade the most?
I mean, it's a tough question because I'm stuck. I'm stuck with Chris Middleton. The answer of who I want to trade the most is Chris Middleton, but financially, I am stuck with him. I'm keeping McCollum. McCollum at this age right now where they are, Poole and McCollum are not that much different in terms of talent. But McCollum can be a floor general and teach Bub Carrington and teach these young guys how to play. Jordan Poole got punched by Draymond Green. So, I mean, you're clearly trying to use his leadership, and I would definitely keep him. Gilroy, you already said it, but I do think Corey Kispert, definitely worth a look. I think Marvin Bagley really only was brought in to be part of a grab a second rounder somewhere around January move. I'd be stunned if Marvin Bagley finishes the year a Wizard. I'd move on from him too. But you do have more of a clog with your guards than your forwards amongst the youth. So Kispert, it's easier to say get Kispert out of the way, let some of the young guys take shots. But Marvin Bagley doesn't really make much sense either.
All right. And Tommy, what is your record for the wonderful Washington Wizards?
Well, Mongo kind of nailed it on the head with his take, but I'm going to be a little more generous. I'm going to say 22 wins.
So we're all in the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same. We're all in the same field.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
This
Let's-
actually kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of the Spurs when they were starting their rebuild. I mean, I've been there, what Wizards fans. You'll get through it.
They just didn't have the success you had prior to it.
Yeah.
Let's move over to the Orlando Magic, who won the division last year with a disappointing 41-41 record. The year before they I think they ended up being like top 4 or 5 in the East. They looked fantastic. I think Mongo was not surprised, right? Because there was almost the year before was almost their Knicks run from when the Knicks had the Julius Randle run a couple years before the big fallout and then the rebuild. Not the rebuild, but the rebrand of sorts. So I don't think anyone was, especially Mongo, was not totally surprised by the 41-41 record from last season. I think they will rebound this year. I'm confident in this. I am not overly confident, though. I'm only giving them 4 more wins, putting them at 45 wins. I think that this team is still going to be very good. I don't think that record is necessarily a bad record. I think that I have them winning the division still with 45 wins. I just think that the top of the East is so much better, and that I don't know. I'm not sold 100% on them taking a major leap forward. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they end up 48 to 50 wins, but I can't see them really exceeding that this year.
Yeah, you nailed it there, Kilroy. I'll just finish on that thought. We also saw it, right? Go back a few episodes. If you didn't watch it yet, what are you doing? Go back and watch our previous episodes this season.
What are you doing?
Same thing with the Sacramento Kings, right? We saw them start to come on, and then they had their regression. We saw it with the Rockets a couple of years ago, the Knicks. All these teams are following. It's a copycat league. They're all copycat leagues. So we're seeing it with everybody. The difference here is that this path is a little bit closer to the Knicks in that they went out and found that top player to add to what they currently had. Now, I am in no way saying Desmond Bane is Jalen Brunson, but I am saying Desmond Bane has a better track record than when the Kings said Malik Monk will be the finishing piece we need. I mean, so this should go more Nick-like than King-like, where we're talking about the wheels completely falling off that thing when they couldn't quite bounce back from where they were. Just for context here, I have them at 49 wins. I do love Desmond Bane. And also this team was a little unlucky at the end. There were a lot of predetermined spots in the East, so no one was really trying 100% at the end. But I'm with you, Kilroy, in that that's a big jump to make. Vegas it may have come down, but Vegas about a month ago had them at 50.5 wins as the over-under. I get I'm almost right there. But at the same time, I don't see this team getting to 50. I think that's a major jump, where, it is going to take some time to get Desmond Bane in. I think from what I can tell from their roster, they're going to be relying on Anthony Black to be their backup shooting guard. I mean, that's a stretch for a guy who was originally brought in to be their 9th point guard. So they may still yet go get a veteran.
They also lost Cole Anthony, right?
They lost Cole. That's that hole I'm talking about. There is, they're missing a guard, and I get they're both point guards, but they were relying on Cole to shoot and be a little bit more of a aggressive point guard. That'll be Anthony Black's role now, and he hasn't necessarily proven he's a bust by any means, but he hasn't. He was good. He just hasn't necessarily proven basically, if you're going to have a 9-man rotation this year, it looks like either Anthony Black or Tristan da Silva is going to have to be a part of that. And if you're talking about a lock it in, I'm definitely taking the over. They're winning 50 for sure. Those are questionable guys to have in a 9-man rotation of a 50-win team. They're good guys having a 9-man rotation of a team that's going, 40, at least 41, going to make the playoffs for sure. But you're starting to get. I'm getting nitpicky here, but this has been one of the more controversial teams of the offseason, right? The Desmond Bane trade was one of the biggest trades of the offseason. Some people say it was crazy to give up that much for, a guy who's limited in what he can do. Other people said, you talked about it before, right? You said Orlando was more offensively inept than the Wizards last year, right? So you go out and you get Desmond Bane for his shooting. So, controversial trade. So I'm going to nitpick it from every angle, but I like it. I think they're way better off than they were last year. I love KCP, but I love Bane a whole lot more. I think he fits the style a whole lot more. They were able to keep, the whole core together. So I like what they're doing here, and I'm with you, Kiora. I think here comes the upswing we saw with more like the Knicks and the Rockets, than the stabilized, drop we saw with the Kings.
Yeah. Tommy?
I'm sitting right around 47 wins.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I don't have much to say about the Magic.
Relatively close.
I will just, sorry, real quick. I want to go back to my theme of the night here. I will say this is my one non-incomplete grade. This is who they are, other than maybe adding that, like I said, adding that veteran shooting guard off the bench. But I wouldn't consider that an incomplete grade. I'd consider that natural progression as the year goes on, especially when you're relying on a young guy. So the one thing I will say about the Magic is, if come January, we're doing our midseason show and I am on pace to be more than 15 off by every single team in this division, Orlando would be the only team that surprises me. I will be the first to admit I could be totally wrong about these other four teams. But Orlando feels pretty locked into a number somewhere in the 40s. And I'm with you, Kiora. They feel pretty locked in as the division winner.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the Charlotte Hornets. Last year, the Hornets had 19 wins. This team seems to just not have anybody outside of, I don't know. Sorry. This team doesn't seem to have anyone who wants to elevate this team, right? Like Ball's been in the league what feels like half a decade at this point, if not more. And he just hasn't been able to elevate this team to being relevant. And I think at this point, it's a large enough sample size that we can say that he's not that type of difference maker. And maybe that's unfair because he hasn't always had talent around him. But a lot of teams, you still see that, right? Like basketball, you can have one player make that type of difference, right? Like, I'm not sure if he's that type of player at this point. I don't know if they have anyone on Charlotte who's doing that, going to be doing that. I gave him 20 wins, tied with the Wizards. I think if anything, they will be worse than the Wizards in the end. I think Wizards will edge them out for that spot, for the whatever fifth place, fourth place, and the Hornets will be fifth in the division. I'm not confident in the Hornets. I don't like them. I don't like that they don't know what to do with their coaching. I don't think they know what they're doing with their roster. I don't know. I just don't like them.
Tommy, go ahead on this one. I'll go third.
I'm with you, Kilroy. I think they're going to be worse than the Wizards, and I think it's because I think the Wizards are going to be hungrier, at least marginally, to prove themselves, whereas this Charlotte team has like no future.
It feels uninspired.
Yeah, there's like I can't imagine there's much morale in that locker room. Oh yay, I play for the Charlotte Hornets. That's where I want to be. 19 wins. I'm just gonna go chalk.
Yeah, I think it sounds like Mongo might be different, or he just has a different opinion about the team. So why don't you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go sit here and tell you I'm gonna end this with 52 wins. I'm not gonna shock the world here. But I disagree to some extent. In that I do think this is one of the deepest individual group of humans who have stepped foot on the Hornets court in a while. I love the Knipple ad. I love Brandon
Great
Miller.
wording, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I'll listen. I'll get there in just a second. But with that being said, it is one of the worst teams I've seen in a while. LaMelo Ball is listed as taller than both of their small forwards. Brandon Miller is going to be playing shooting guard, and he's taller than most of their forwards. You know, they have Ryan Kalkbrenner, who it stunned me to learn he's listed as 7 foot and 7'1" everywhere. He plays like Othello Harrington and Clarence Weatherspoon and those guys of the 20-aughts who were not a hair over 6'8" when the Knicks just kept rotating undersized centers. It's a very weirdly built team that, as it currently is constructed, will have trouble with a stretch 5, will have trouble with a true power 4, will have trouble with a fast 2, will have trouble with a rebound savvy 3, will have trouble with a veteran bench. I mean, it's not constructed as a correct team. But with that said, this to me is the biggest incomplete grade of all, because if you start moving some bodies around, or if some of these guys actually develop into true definitions, like, to me, the best thing that can happen for the Bobcats, for the Hornets this year, is that Konkanippel is not a star. I mean, it would be great, but if he becomes a 6-man, if he becomes like a Kyle Korver type or, a Dougie Buckets type, and Brandon Miller can move back up and you can use a top 10 pick on a true shooting guard next year, I think they're better off for it. I think they have to figure out what they're doing, and they have to start moving some guys. Mason Plumlee as a possible starting center on this team is a waste of space, but as a possible trade candidate, I think that's excellent. Colin Sexton as a backup point guard, not the guy you want backing up a guy like LaMelo. You think of TJ McConnell backing up, in Indiana, right? That's exactly the kind of guy you want backing up one of these sometimes plays too fast for his own good point guards. That's not Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is one of those too fast for their own good sometimes point guards. So move on from Colin Sexton, find a veteran point guard. I think you can do a lot with this team. I'm with you, Kilroy. They don't have a track record that suggests they will do anything than just the bare minimum, which is why I am leaving them in the 20s. But I think if the right guy got hold of this team, this is the most moldable lump of clay the Hornets has been in a long while. I don't have them making the playoffs or the play-in, but this may shock you here. I have them getting to 30 wins. Over under in Vegas is 26.5. I'm going safely over that. And give me 30 with a very talented young core here. I mean, Knippel, Miller, Bridges, and Ball is a good group to build around.
I don't know. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know. I just don't feel inspired by this team and prove me wrong. I don't care. I don't mind. Prove me wrong.
I'll tell you real quick, a couple shockers here. LaMelo Ball, somehow only 24.
Yes, but I was correct about the half decade.
That's a lot of mileage. Don't get me wrong, but from a physical prime standpoint, our physical prime has slowly been coming down as we become more superhuman. But you're in the 26, 27 range for your physical prime. So he hasn't reached that. And meanwhile, they're playing Miles Bridges as a small 4, which I don't like. But 7 or 8 rebounds last year. You can stat check me, but surprising number of rebounds for Bridges last year.
He's also listed as power forward.
I was shocked to see that. And he's coming into his physical prime, so he can play bigger than he's supposed to be. But then Ryan Kalkbrenner joined. I believe I saw.
He's an old rookie. He's 23.
But what is it? 4-time? Is it 4-time defensive Big East Defensive Player of the Year or 4-time first team defensive player for the Big East?
He played for Charrington.
He played for Creighton.
Sure, that's probably how you say that.
That's 100% how you say that. But anyway, elite defender compared. I forget he owns a stat that only him and Patrick Ewing own for Big East defensive supremacy. I'll see if I can find it. But you can start to see the pieces are there. And listen, I like Mark Williams a lot, but moving on from Mark Williams, to land Liam McNeely in that trade, another.
Don't worry, they got Grant Williams.
They have Grant Williams, but there's another guy I would say move on from. I think there's a ton of pieces here you can mess around with. But I like the young kids they have. I think Kalkbrenner and McNeely are great adds to an already young core. They just got to figure out how to use everybody.
Yeah, we'll see as it progresses. I get that you're trying to be optimistic. My concern is I've tried to be optimistic about this team before, and I expected them to be something. And I don't know. I just maybe I'm just wrong, but I don't think LaMelo Ball's a good leader. And I don't know who's the leader of this team. Is it,
a question?
I mean, you need to have that to a certain degree, right?
That's the key, though. Defined to a certain degree. If any of the teams we think are going to win 35 or more games win 28 games, we will question the camaraderie, the leadership, all those intangibles. So if those teams cannot have that stuff and still end up with 28 to 30 wins, why can't the Hornets? Right? I'm not saying LaMelo has that X factor. I'm not saying LaMelo has that dog in him. I'm not saying LaMelo's going to be like John Morant and can have Stinko around him and still find his magic to 40 wins every year, no matter what he does. Giannis probably might have one of his worst teams ever. We all have him winning the Central. I'm not saying that, but you can certainly, on talent alone, be better than the Wizards. You can get to 24 and whatever that would be, 24 and 58 on just talent alone.
Now,
we've spent too much time on the Hornets.
Real quick, though, do you guys think that Charlotte might be a cursed basketball city?
I think the entire Southeast is a cursed sports territory. So, yeah, they're lumped in there. I mean, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning and then a whole bunch of
I'm talking like because Charlotte Bobcats never really made noise as far as I remember. I can't think of anyone there.
The NBA has a really weird so expansion. Being an expansion team in the NBA is, I think, harder than the NFL because there's just especially back then, right? The talent drop off was sharp, right? Like the top of the league was really, really good. And for the longest time, the Bobcats' best player was Gerald Wallace, right? And then their number one, they got, instead of getting Dwight Howard because they didn't get the first overall pick, they got the second. They ended up with Emeka Okafor, who was a very good center in of himself, but he was not a future Hall of Famer like Dwight Howard, right? And then they missed out on Sean May, who had a bunch of injury problems, and maybe it was just cursed. You're right.
The other thing to factor in is Michael Jordan gets involved in 2006, and it has, to Kilroy's point, it has not been great. I mean, Sean May is right around 06, Adam Morrison's right around 06. They're right in that range. The window between when the idea of all the free agents wanted to go to big cities, so basically the beginning of globalization in the NBA to when Jordan takes over, is a very small window, and it might even overlap, meaning Charlotte has never really had an opportunity to sell itself to big free agents, because prior to a world where any team can get any free agent, Charlotte had no chance. Orlando had no chance. Miami had no chance. Again, basically, if you weren't LA, Boston, or New York, you were getting second scraps, right? And now anybody can get anybody. But Charlotte, to Kilroy's point, has been bad through most of that globalization. And I don't mean bad as a team. I mean bad as an organization, like hiring coaches they fired before multiple times, things of that nature. And so we've never really seen the city of Charlotte, the franchise of the Hornets, have freedom to be a buyer in the anyone can be a buyer generation of the NBA. So it's going to take that to happen before I'm ready to just flat out call it cursed. But you could make the argument Michael Jordan himself was a curse on the city, and it all snowballs from there.
Anyway, I think we have talked way too long about it.
Hey, that's the price you pay for the 6 championships, right?
I guess.
Yeah, you have to listen to us talk about the Charlotte Hornets for 15 minutes.
No, I meant Jordan.
Oh, he should listen to us. Michael Jordan, come be on our show.
Yeah, you know what? I'd be down for that. I don't want to ask any weird questions either.
No, and we'll let you be the primary stakeholder of Court Vision. You can draft whoever you want, except Kevin Chen. He won't be on our show anymore for some reason.
It's too many Von Miller jokes.
That's fair. That's fair. We can knock those off for you, though, MJ. If you say no more Vons, we're done. We won't talk about Miller. We won't talk about Lindsay. We'll get rid of all the Vons.
Let's move.
Those jokes are going to be Vaughn. All Vaughn.
Vaughn with the wind.
The Miami Heat. This is my most controversial wins. And, I'm going to end it. I'll be the last to go. Mongo, why don't you start Last year they had 37 wins. Where do you have the Miami Heat going this year?
Well, if I don't tell you guys enough, this is not a power ranking show. This is about wins. And again, I give this group an incomplete because the question is simply, what is this team? Who is this team? And, Kilroy, we're going to disagree here on this number. I know we are, because if you think the Hornets don't have an identity, this team has even less of an identity. And so I hope for me to not question your number here, Kilroy, I hope this is a low number, because if you're going to punish the Bobcats for not having an identity, I hope the Heat are also low. Now, I don't punish that. And in fact, in this case, I'll go with Tommy's theory of, I think this will be a hungry team. I mean, this is a team that managed to get more out of Davion Mitchell than other franchises could. I think he wants to prove himself. This is a team, Nikola Jovic looks like he's ready to make that next step. Khalil Ware looked great as a rookie. He should be able to make the next step. You do have some talent there. Now, I get Tyler Hero's not 100% healthy right now. But again, he'll come along as we go. Even guys like Terry Rozier seems to be happier when he's the grandpa on the team than when he's a contributing veteran, right? He was more happy on Charlotte than he was playing under Jimmy Butler. So, being on just a sort of young, where are we going team might actually help him as a sixth man. We might see a Lou Williams style resurgence from him. With all that being said, though, you can't take Jimmy Butler out of, 1 year removed from Jimmy Butler and say they're going to be any sort of significantly better. But I do think they're an easier out in the playoffs who will stumble on a few more wins. And so I'm going to put them at 39-43. That's right about in line with Vegas's 39.5, and just a slight uptick in wins that I think are more based on effort than talent. I do think they're a less talented team, right? You lose Butler at the deadline, you lose Duncan Robinson in the offseason. I get that they're a less talented team, but I do think they're a team that needs to prove themselves more, especially because, remember, this was a team that knew Jimmy Butler was the hardest out in May for the better part of a decade. So this is a team that now needs to earn its wins, that now needs to earn its seeding, that now needs to, prove that it actually belongs, not just, Jimmy Butler can get hot at any moment. So I like their win-loss game. I don't think they're a very good team.
Mm-hmm. Tommy?
I'm not going to be as generous. I'm going 35 wins. There's a lot of different factors. There's talk that Bam may not be on this team if he hasn't left already. I haven't kept up with any basketball news, to be honest. He's still there. I can't imagine he'll be there the whole season, especially if they're not looking too good. I'm thinking 35 wins with a potential for maybe 38 wins.
Okay. Well, I will start with this and say that, Mongo, you're correct. I did bring him down.
Yeah, and I could see that.
I'm just not inspired by this team. I feel like that this team lacks something.
It doesn't bring the heat.
Yeah, it doesn't. Their jerseys are still gas. But I'm not. It's not that I'm not sold on Tyler Hero being the star player. I think he's a very good player. I think he is a good 2 or 3 option on a team. I've never been sold that Bam is a superstar, that everyone's tried to make him out to be. I think he's a very good player. I think he's deserving of a Defensive Player of the Year award. Hasn't gotten it for God only knows why. I guess just because Rudy Gobert's got to collect them all. I'm just not sure. Do they still have Andrew Wiggins? I don't remember.
They do have Andrew Wiggins. They do have Norman Powell. There's a lot of B- talent on this.
Right, and that's my.
It's kind of weird, the team they've assembled, to be honest.
I do have them having more wins. I have them with 30 wins. I'm not inspired by this team because I just don't know who's going to consistently take over games for them. I know Tyler Hero can do it. He does have an injury history. Maybe he proves me wrong this year and he is able to stay healthy, but he is already starting off the season with injuries. I don't see Bam being able to offensively take over a game. It's just not who he is, and not a slight against. That's not a slight against him. I think, like I said, he's a defensive stonewall, right? Like, this guy is constantly in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't see them trading him. He seems like a Pat Riley type of guy that he will not move on from him. He'll easily move on from Tyler Hero before he would move on from Bam. Which I don't think they're moving on from Tyler Hero either. Let me just say that. I think Andrew Wiggins is the piece they're going to trade when they can get back what they think is right. I don't if this team struggles like I think they will, I do think he's gone. Right. I think Andrew Wiggins, if you can try to trade him to a team, get whatever draft capital you can, and maybe the Heat can piece together enough picks and play young players where they can go out and get someone if they are better than I think they're going to be. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. I'm just not confident in this team. I'm confident that Pat Riley can turn it over quicker. I think that how things ended last year with Jimmy Butler, and the fact that there wasn't a lot of options available this offseason, that they kind of just were like, well, let's not rock the boat too much. Let's just do some minor upgrades here and there. I don't know. I'm not sold. I want to be so. I want to be more sold, but I'm just not.
Well, we're I'll vamp here for a minute if you can do this quickly, Kilroy. If you think it'll take you too long, just let me know. We can put it in the comments when this thing airs. Part of my number here also has to do with, and I'm curious where your number is on this. Who do you have as 10th in the East and with how many wins? Because I feel like you might have somebody with 34 wins making the play-in, which would be very hard to do, but very possible. Kilroy is doing that. Kilroy is on the right track here. I don't think they are going to completely rebuild this thing, partly because of Pat Riley. Pat Riley, it's like Pops down in San Antonio, right, Tommy? They couldn't go for the complete long rebuild. They had to act quick. And Wembanyama falling into their laps kind of helped speed that up. But if he doesn't fall into their laps, they were going to have to get kind of creative to figure out how do they get Pops one more look at a contender here.
We'd still be rebuilding right now.
Right. And so, or they would have completely gone the other way and traded those rookies for veterans to try and give him just one more cash in, right? Mm-hmm. With that being said, Miami has started to put together some young pieces here. You have Jovic, you have Ware, and you have Chuck Jonas from the draft this year, who are all, I think, 23 or under. So, I mean, you have a future 2, a future 4, and a future 5. All there. I mean, Davion Mitchell is the absolute. I believe he's about 26 years old, but he's still coming into his true physical prime, and he's a Pat Riley one as pure as there is. So, I mean, there's some young talent here to work with, but still not fully convinced. Kilroy, what were you able to find for me?
All right, I will say this: you were spot on. 35 wins is my 10 seed.
And who do you get? Who do you get? Chicago?
No, I cannot say who. It is a spoiler.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I won't press for you.
I will say though, that's the only team I have with 30s.
Okay.
Everyone else is above.
Well, there's only 5 teams that could be at this point.
It could be 6. We have one more to go tonight. I will.
Oh yeah, 6.
I will say though, Kilroy, part of my number is because we already did this one, so I can reveal it again. I have the Bulls at 37, with Miami actually accidentally making the play-in at 39. So those, we talk about, there's such a big difference between 39 and 35 or 35 and 31. Well, what's the point of April for these teams, right? If you have Miami 7 games out, on March 1st, yeah, they're going to actually actively try and lose games at the end, right? If they're at 30 and 40, they're going to actively lose 12 if the other team's locked in already.
I feel I'm generous for 9 teams in the East, 42 wins or more. I think that's pretty generous.
Which means did you have Chicago at 42?
I don't. Let me. Where they're the Central, right?
Oh no, sorry. No, we have the same 9 teams. We have the same 9 teams. Sorry, it's that 10th seed here.
Chicago is 35.
Yeah, you just have much.
They're tied with my other team.
Gotcha. All right,
but I'm giving the edge to my other team because I can.
That's fair because Kevin's not here to force us to play tiebreakers. Go ahead. Let's do this last one here. Let's wrap this thing up.
All right, we're wrapping it up with the Atlanta Hawks, Kevin's favorite team. He is a big Trae Young stan. Comment down below any
Be
question.
sure to buy him a
what
Trae Young jersey.
he would. Anyway, last year the Atlanta Hawks won 40 games. This year I have them going 42-40. I don't know. I like this team. I think that last year was not necessarily who the team really was. I could see them easily going between 42 and 45 wins, just like I have the Magic between 45 and 50 wins. I don't know. I like this team better than I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for liking them better than the Heat, but I just like the team better than the Heat. I like their roster. I think that Trae Young is a star still. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like him, Pat Beverly, but I think he can carry the team to wins, and I think that there's enough talent around them. I think didn't they get Porzingis, and all indications is that illness that he had last year is gone, and that he is supposed to be coming into the season healthy. I don't know. I like it. I like this team. I don't think that they're a good team. I don't think they're gonna win a championship or anything, but I definitely think that they're the number 2 seed in the Southeast.
Yeah, ironically, and I guess I'll go second here as Tommy has simply walked away from an Atlanta Hawks conversation. This is what I think of the Hawks. How about that? No, Kilroy, I'm with you, and honestly, I think they could win the division. Yes.
Especially if the Magic have a similar season to last year.
Yeah,
and I don't just mean record wise.
I'll work my way backwards here. I have them at 46 and 36. 3 games behind the Magic, which is where Vegas has them also. Vegas is over-under number for Atlanta.
I'm also 3 behind, right?
Yeah.
At 45 and 40. Yeah, we're still.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. We expect them to be just a tick below Orlando, but 3 games is not hard to make up in the grand scheme of a season. But I'll tell you what makes this team, this is going to be another incomplete grade from me, but what makes this so unique, you could trace it back to wherever you want, however you want to define this generation of Atlanta Hawk basketball. You can define it back to when Danny Ferry takes over. You can define it back to Al Horford getting drafted. I don't really care where you want to start. But this is a team that has always prided itself on depth, right? They had Devin Harris after he was an all-star. They had Lou Williams before he was a 6-man. You had those Al Horford, Josh Smith, teams. You had so many. You had those Paul Millsap, Al Horford teams, right? You had so many teams that tried to beat you by having we talk about it with Miami and with Charlotte, right? They had 5 really good players with no one true star, and it never worked. They got close, but they always were just a very deep team that never quite went anywhere. Even Jalen Johnson took several years to emerge from being the 11th man on this team because it's always just been so deep. All of a sudden, I don't really know what happened, but this is the new lean, fat-trimmed Atlanta Hawks, and I adore it. I mean, it's literally it's Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, and they bring in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and that's pretty much the guards. Reece Shashay is going to back up Jalen Johnson and Porzingis as the forwards, and Okongwu, and that's it. It's actually it's Minnesota Timberwolves levels of shockingly shallow, but it hasn't stopped the Timberwolves from being really competitive the last couple of years. Why should we be scared to see the Hawks try it? Now, why I like them already is because that next guy off the bench, presumably you want an extra big off the bench there, right? Because we just say, definitely more of a 3 than a 4 backup first forward off the bench. But they have your boy Charles Bassey over there, Tommy, who I really like if he could actually get minutes as a true backup center.
If he could stay healthy, that's
healthy in his 3rd year. Asa Newell has looked like a rebounding machine. He looks incredible in the preseason. They might just lodge him in. It might be him and Bassey as the 8th and 9th man. Or with all those young guys, you can easily trade for a backup big and add that person into the rotation. So I don't think the back end of this bench is done, but I love what they have at the back end of their 9-10 man rotation. And their first 7 are very, 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 very good. So again, I have them at 46 wins, but I could see it getting higher if they added to the bench. And of course, when you're that shallow, you can't put too high of a ceiling because one injury, one suspension, one whatever, and boom, you've lost a couple games. But with a miraculous run, for context, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, including playoffs, has played 195 games the last 2 seasons. He hasn't missed a regular season game since 223. I mean, it's been an incredible run. So I mean,
Wasn't that
they
when he
knew,
had like that major injury.
they knew. I forget what happened to him then, but he embodies what they're trying to do here. They went out and got guys, who can make that deep run. Other than, again, Gilroy, like you alluded to, can Porzingis do it? Because there's not a whole lot behind him. But if he can stay healthy, if this team can stay on the court, it could be a magical run because that's a really strong front seven.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice to see how they go. Kevin has them going negative 42 wins.
124 losses. That feels right.
Yeah. Tommy, you wrap us up with this Hawks prediction of yours, and then we'll wrap up the show.
I think that this is going to be where the Southeast gets interesting. The little race between the Magic and the Hawks and who's going to take this division, because it's pretty close in my mind. I mean, realistically, the Magic probably take the division win, but the Hawks probably have the best shot at usurping that. I have them going. I gave the Magic 47. I'm going 46 with Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a little more dicey. That makes it a little more exciting. And you said it. I mean, you said it's going to be close. But we're all in agreement. We're all in agreement the Hawks are just a step below. The Magic are deeper, and they're also coming from a place of existing already, right? The Magic only added one piece to a rotation of about 11. The Hawks added 2 to a rotation of 7. And if Asa Newell is their 8th man, that's 3 to a rotation of 8. I mean, that's literally roughly 38% of the Hawk first 8 are new, whereas 9% of the Magic's first 11 are new. I mean, which team is going to pick up more wins in that situation. So, we'll see if the Hawks can have a quick run early on. But the consistency in Orlando is really going to be the selling point for me.
I appreciate the numbers. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment down below who you have winning the division and your records for the teams. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.
Also, comment down below who the Magic's coach is, so Mongo can remember.
It's
No, don't say it. No, we need the comments.
Bye.
Bye.